Hello again. Well, I don't know about spring, but my goodness, the weather's been miserable, and it's gone really cold. In fact, for the first time, it's first thing in the morning, and I've lit the fire during the daytime because I'm cold. And what I'm about to do, I'm not particularly running about everywhere, so just sitting there, it's getting quite parky. Anyway, so I'm continuing on with the batteries. When I left you last, I'd done the bulk charge the first half. Only I hadn't. It had hit. Well, I say I hadn't. One of the batteries had hit the peak voltage, and that was that. And I went to bed. Of course, overnight they settled a bit, so I was able to give it another few hours of charge. And when that had got there, I've then swapped over the other batteries and reconfigured for the other half. And they are they're in the bedroom now, charging away. I think it seems to be about a day each for those. So it's going to be for a while yet. So in the meantime, I'm starting on, well, it sounds quite arsey if I call it distribution box, but that is what it is. So to get the power from the batteries to the various places it needs to go. You can buy these off the shelf, but they are literally hundreds of pounds for a bit of plastic and a bit of copper. So I have some copper and I have some ABS plastic, and I will make them myself. The difficulty stroke thinking, it's not actually the electrical circuits. That's not a problem at all. It's just trying to get it as neat and professional looking. Although professional, of course, would just go and buy the couple of £100 one. But try and get it as less codged as possible. I'm slowly shedding layers as the stove is certainly doing its job. Anyway, quick update on the rudder. As should be, the boatyard will, when the weather dries up, which is forecast next week, the boatyard will take the rudder off and repair it. And in repairing, they will completely remove the bent balance plate and make a new one and weld it back on. And then recoat it. And of course, meanwhile it's off, they will check the bearings and see if they need any repair. Which I suppose, I said, I'm still not happy about it. I have a virgin brand new rudder from a good manufacturer, but it's I can't insist on anything more than that. So hopefully they're true to their word, and I've told them that they've got to do they need to do this on a high quality job, not just some half-arsed thing. Anyway, so that's all I can do, and hopefully it works out. I mean, I won't know for some time yet. Well, it's a few days later, and I've done the two chargings of it's set up as a battery, a 48-volt battery, and now the next step of the top balancing is, as you can see, they're basically all now in parallel, so it's a giant 3.25 volt battery, as it were, and on this step you charge to the top voltage of 3.65. Now it's going to take some days. It's moment 5 amps is going in, and there's a few nth volt. I think the voltage at the moment is 3.4, and it's got to go to 3.65. So I said, and that's likely to take some time, which is fine. Well, I've been fiddling around for a day, and actually a bit more than a day, and I think I've just about worked it out. I've been doing bits like this, like bits of wooden bits, like sort of old-fashioned Meccano, only wood rather than metal. The reason being, copper is so frighteningly expensive. I didn't want to start cutting it and get it wrong. Especially, this here. I did this well over a year ago in the flat before I'd even got the boat. I guess I was so eager to do something before it is, and I must have had an idea at the time, but goodness knows what, because the holes as they are arranged do not work with anything logical. So unfortunately, this is kind of double unfortunate. This is kind of sort of wasted, though I should be able to use a bit for some sort of filler plates that I need. But it means I've had to go and order another piece of copper now, because I'm just about this much short, annoyingly. So the rudder's coming off. Well, the rudder's trying to come off. Amazingly enough, for a brand new rudder, it's proving a little bit difficult. I think Sam there reckons that there's just a paint when they did the primer coat, so it's bumped it off a bit. But it should, so he's removing the paint, and then that should then lift off, and he'll get it repaired. Hello again. Well, I'm back in the back, which is a pity because it's a lovely spring afternoon. Chilly, but lovely and sunny. However, I need to work indoors. And what I'm doing is the batteries are back there underneath that cardboard, humming away, doing their the second stage of the balancing. So one of the many sort of subtasks I have for this this phase of the electrics is one thing is I have to put a grounding point in, or an earthing point, should I say? Grounding, earthing, they're synonymous. Usually this is near the engine because that's where the batteries are. However, as all the batteries are here, and I don't have an engine, I'm putting one in here. So what I've done is taken one of the ribs is, the stiffening ribs. I've taken the insulation out, and alas, the one that makes most sense. It was actually, I was hoping it was going to be an L angle, but it's turned out to be a U. So I had to make a hole next to it so I could get a bolt behind us. So how I've done it is that's some M12 steel rod, and that is basically bolted on reverse and on the top, and then that will and that's got a connection. I just tested it as well as continuity. There's no resistance from that point to a point lower down in the later on in the bar. So I'm happy that that's good enough. And then I'll put the cover back on, and then there'll be a small bus bar, as it were, earth bar, to connect the required earthing points. And while I'm here, I might as well start thinking about where the other holes that I need to make go. Which I have to say I really don't want to do, because like almost every task on this boat building project, there's always multiple layers, and as well as thinking about where the cables have to go, I need to check that they're going to clash with the exhaust, because while I was I am very happy with the boat and the boat builder. They were great, apart from one thing, and that was I asked them to specifically put the exhaust hole and the water inlet in a specific places, and I sent them a CAD diagram, and I asked for the exhaust to be here and the water inlet to be over here. And for some reason, when I picked up the boat, they were both here in the corner, and by then it was too late, and I just have to make it work. But it just makes things a lot complicated, because here is where the cables for the motor will come out. And the problem is both the cables and the exhaust pipe, this is big chunky stuff, and you can't, there's only a certain bending radius it can do. So, and it has to be all flowing downhill, so it's a real head scratcher, and I've said it's something I've been putting off for a long time. I have to say, it would be infinitely easier to just install this first. However, that would yet be another work front open, which I don't want to do, and also I can't just install this because I really need to give the whole engine bay a coat of paint, and I want to install this and have to take it off before doing it again. Right, I dare to start doing the copper, and much thanks to Paul for letting me use his bench drill, which will make a lot better job of it than I would try to do with the regular hand drill. So the batteries have been sitting here for I've lost count of how many days they have been sitting here. That was always going to be the case. This is how this top balancing is. But I'm delighted to say that the amperage that the DC power is putting out is finally going down. It was this morning, it was pumping out 15 amps, which is the maximum it can do. And now it's got down to 5.5 amps, which means that we're getting, it's not pushing as much in, because it's getting towards the required voltage. And that noise, unfortunately, one thing about the cooling fan has gone on the fritz and is making makes a a sound that's not particularly pleasant. It's just the fan though. The bearing, I guess, is worn out. It's not great because although this has been on constantly for about a week now, it hasn't had that much use. But hey, it's only a small fan. I can replace it at some point. So yeah, so if I look at I do actually look at the voltage, it's 3.57. So yeah, so just less than 1 volt. But things less than 1 volt in all these batteries still adds up to about I think it's about 800 kilowatts. I've done the calculation. It's a lot more. It's a lot more power than you would imagine. Anyway, and while I'm still yakking on, Richard at the boatyard here asked me why I was compressing my batteries, and I never, as I said, it's a very much a sort of, a divisive Marmite type of thing. But the reason, if you want to do it, and this said, I'm not starting to try to tell you how to set up batteries, but just in case you're wondering, these things, they're inside they're basically just plastic pouches with laminated electrodes in and the electrolyte. And as these get more and more charged up towards their 100% charge, they actually slightly expand a bit. And because there's such fine tolerance, over time the expanding of those electrodes, etc., it then changes the tiny tolerance between them, and it can degrade the battery life, which is why some people like to clamp them. Or so it is. I mean, it's a bit like sort of performance cars. You look on these forums and everybody's like trying to get the in sort of better improvement out of the batteries. Whether in the scheme of things it makes any difference in the long run, I have no idea, and I'm not in a place to say yes or no. But I said I thought I might as well do it. I see that Kylie's on the move, which is good, because the rudder removal, which they started days and days ago, didn't progress very much at all, because they have to lift the boat to get the rudder off. It drops down before it goes up, as it were. So hopefully when they finish moving the boats, they will come and do this. Well, Kylie seems to have gone back home for the night, so obviously what they said about my boat being done after the boat moves wasn't right, but hey ho. It's not that I'm desperate to do it, although it'd be good to get sorted out. It's just that, like when the boat moves, it means every time Kylie fires up, you're sort of on tenterhooks, and you don't want to start doing anything. Like I was waiting for dinner to start dinner, because I knew that as soon as I put the dinner in, Sod's Law would say that Kylie would come and start moving the boat. Anyway, as I said, I think I'm safe for tonight, so dinner time. Well, I think we're just about finally at journey's end for the battery balancing. As you can see, the blue, it does that time. So it's about a third of an amp, but it's just jumped up to almost half an amp. But hey, that's one thing. But anyway, if I have a look on the voltmeter, that is 3.65. So we're good. We're there. Hooray! And very quickly, I've been going on all that's top balancing, but the simple way to look at it is you're basically just checking that every single battery is topped up to the very to its working limit. So therefore, when they're in use, the idea is that they all will more or less. I mean, they're never perfect, but it means they will all more or less decrease, and one of them won't hit the maximum or the minimum charge or the voltage, well, too far out than the others. That's why you should do it, especially when like these are slightly sort of grade B cells, not brand new matched and graded together. So it's worth doing. I mean, it's taken quite a bit of time, but it's not that I'd be ready to assemble these into a working battery anyway, because there's quite a lot of other stuff to do on this front. Anyway. Well, I have to say, it's been great to get the batteries done. And yes, I guess this episode's been a lot of me waffling on, not much visible progress. To quote the Elvis line in one of his songs, I guess you probably want a little less talk, a little more action. However, it's just one of those things, I guess, I have to think. Things like this, I sometimes get paralysed by not wanting to do the wrong thing and make mistakes. And said, with the batteries, you certainly don't want to be rushing into things, because you can both injure yourself and also ruin quite a lot of expensive lithium cells. Anyway, we've got there, and yeah. So it is literally Friday evening, so it's I'm out of time, so that's all I can show you this week. And it is Good Friday, so given that I know that the majority of people watching are going to be in the UK and a handful of you in the US, I will wish you a happy Easter, and I will see you next week. Have a good holiday.